G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Dropping another round preview for you guys. So round 14. I thought we'd take a look at some of the things that I've seen sort of floating around sort of how to fill your F5, F6, if you're going to go with the three rucks, and yeah, just talk through some of the forwards as well, but also just preview the round ahead like we normally do and have the same sort of stuff that we normally go through. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Also, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. It's really good, building really nicely, and really happy with the interaction. So, yeah, stoked with that. So, thanks for everyone that's jumped on board so far. And if you can, hit subscribe and jump on board. Um, let's have a look. So last week, if you didn't see my review, had a good week last week. 2045 jumped up into rank 542 for the season, hoping to jump into the top 500 after this week. I'm pretty confident going into the week. I think I got sort of a good amount of players playing, but let's get stuck in. We'll have a look at the injury list and sort of some of the team news that's come out. So not all the teams are out. They'll come out a little bit later tonight for most of those. As I'm doing this just before sort of the footy on Thursday, so I can get this out and then just watch the footy tonight. But let's have a look. So Adelaide. The big one here is Isaac Rankin. Tricky one if you're still holding. If you're holding, you're probably going to keep holding, right? At least he's past his buy, so when he does come back, he should stay on the side. Trading into him would be a bit risky, but maybe a little bit down the track after we see a few weeks, see what role he has as well. The other thing for this is you got to keep in mind that you got Isaac probably coming back, Mitch Hinge coming back, Isaac Rankin will come back, Taylor Walker will come back. You've got the chance of Jordan Butts and Callum Archie as well. So you've got legitimately six players that'll probably come back for Adelaide. What that looks like for Hugo Hall-Kahan, I'm not sure. Probably doesn't bode well. I'm not as high as everyone else is on Hugo Hall-Kahan, but I do have him because I needed somebody. But at least he has DPP. But yeah, I don't know if I'm as confident on his job security as everybody else. And he also got Mark Keane to come back. So, seven players sort of to come back into that side in the next few weeks. But let's see. Brisbane, look, I think with the amount of injuries that they got, Wilmot is popping. He's popping. You got Zorko and Kitty Coleman out. It's really allowing sort of Darcy Wilmot to take control. You got McCluggage out. What that spells for Bailey's role, we'll talk about that later when I talk about the forwards. But yeah, heaps of injuries. Hipwood might be back this week. I don't know if I'll be going near any of those Brisbane kids. I don't know if they'll, sort of persist with those guys as the season progresses. Someone like a Shadow Brain or um, like a Tunstall or something like that. I don't know if I'll be going in those directions, but we'll talk about Bailey a little bit later. Carlton have the bye, so we'll just skip those. Collingwood have the bye. Essendon. Look, for us Sardis owners, he's been doing really, really well. We want him to hold that role. It's been announced that Darcy Parish will miss another week already. It's been in the news that he'll miss this week with knee soreness, but Dyson Sharp is a chance to return. That will probably take away some midfield minutes from Sardis, or like it could take his spot, to be honest. The other thing it could do is affect Durham, who we'll also talk about as part of sort of that forward mix a little bit later. But their injury list is huge. Not that there are many big names sort of in there. Looks like Andrew McGrath's not too far away. Guy Caldwell's probably not far away. I don't think Sardis is much longer in the side, to be honest. I just struggle to see who they're going to drop. And they sort of gave up on Sardis last week, sort of towards the end of the game when the whips were cracking. They had him in the centre, and first three clearances just rolled out of there with Carlton, and they're like, nah. And then they just benched him for the whole last quarter, basically. So I don't know if he's been doing well for Supercoach, but in terms of his on-field impact is very minimal. Freo, they're flying. They've got Sir Caleb Sarong to come back. Cox, Johnson, yep, they are just humming at the moment. They've got the bye this week as well, though. The Cats, they got a good matchup this week. They've got Gold Coast down in Geelong. Tom Stewart's an interesting one. So he's being concussed last sort of few minutes of the game. Apparently that means he misses 2 weeks, or I've seen people report that he misses 2 weeks and then has the bye. So if that's the case, I haven't looked into that too much just because I don't own Tom Stewart and I'm not looking to buy him. But um, yeah, unfortunate for owners. I don't know if you probably hold, right, unless you're like doing really well with trades. But if you've got enough trades, I suppose you could get rid of him. But if you're struggling with trades, it's kind of like, maybe I'll skip that and just hold and just cop a couple of weeks on the chin. Gold Coast, these injuries don't really affect any of our players too much. Like the players that we've all got are probably, either some of the big three of their midfielders in Anderson, Rao, Petrarca. Some people have Noble, who's dominating, by the way, and also Tuke Miller is the other one. Like I think these guys out of the team, both like Will Graham and Alex Davies are kind of sort of like defensive-minded midfielders. I think Tuke is that as well, and I think that's what they need. So I think if there is a role change to come, it could benefit Tuke if he gets more CVAs, just so they have a little bit more balance in their midfield. But until that kind of happens, Tuke's probably going to score what he's scoring around now, so that 95-ish average, I think is pretty good, especially for a forward. We'll also talk about that. GWS. Um, Look, I don't think these injuries affect us too much. Most people are probably going to, it's either Callahan, Whitfield, um, Ash, Oliver, and maybe some with Brent Daniels. I don't think any of these guys are sort of going to affect that too much. The Hawks, they've got the bye this week. These injuries probably don't have these players, but they affect the players that you might have, especially if you have the rookie defenders. I think with Barras, yeah, you got Scrimshaw probably to come back in, Gunston, Connor Nash. I think when those four are back, and it looks like they'll all be back next round or very close. Um, yeah, I don't think it bodes too well. I don't think Hawthorn's one of those teams that, not that they don't like the blood rookies, but they're not going to keep them into the side very long. Like they're pushing for a sort of grand final tilt. They don't want to have kids sort of come September, so they might come in here and there when needed, but they're not going to stay in the side very long. I don't think. Melbourne. So news out of Melbourne is that Joel Fitzgerald is going to play this week. What's unreal to have another another player debuting in Lucas Cook. Not that I know much about Lucas Cook. I don't know much about Joel Fitzgerald, to be honest, apart from that he's doing really well at VFL level. My checkout probably, that was horrific, by the way. Just, yeah, shocking scenes there for my check. And anyone watching it was pretty, yeah, confronting, I suppose. But it does leave a spot for someone like a Fitzgerald, and they don't really have that many to come back, right? They don't have, like Xavier Lindsay, and it's saying that they have Jake Melksham, Jiath, and Jefferson. I wouldn't say they're must-haves in the team, right? So um, it's looking all right for Fitzgerald if he can play a few decent games and hold his spot. North Melbourne really interesting, getting absolutely belted on the weekend. Hardiman and Fino Sullivan out with concussion. I'm not sure who comes back in for them. It's a tricky one. Um, I suppose that's a watch this space, see who plays for them. Port also debuting one of the mid-season draftees in Xavier Bammett from North Melbourne's VFL. So he is an option in midfield. Injury-wise, not too much going on there. Maybe some people will have Josh Lai as a defender rookie. Hasn't been too bad, but that's about it. Richmond have the longest injury list ever. Nate could be back for people looking to go there as a sort of pod discount ruckman. Jack Ross is an interesting one, so he hasn't recovered well from the. I just actually I was looking at the forwards before, and Jack Ross I actually found out through Supercoach I had the little red dot thing next to his name, and I was like, oh, that's strange, because I was considering picking him. But yeah, apparently he's out with concussion. Hasn't recovered well from concussion just before the bye, so he's going to be left out again, apparently. I'm really hoping Burton gets it, to be honest. But then again, his break evens in the 30s. He'll probably go down in price, to be honest. But it'd just be nice to have an extra player playing. Um, but yeah, it's very doubtful. Let's have a look at the Saints. The Saints, these guys coming back. So Jack Higgins, Max King eventually, Hunter Clark. I don't think it looks too good for someone like a Campbell Lake or for a Banfield to come back in. So they might have a spot for a couple of weeks. Someone like a Lake might have a spot for a couple of weeks, but I just don't think he holds his spot, eh? Sydney, Taylor Adams coming through the VFL this week. Errol Goulden's not far away. Apparently might be back after the bye. So, and we'll talk about that with the McInerney sort of replacement and how that kind of affects other players like a Chad Warner, West Coast. Who have we got here? I'm really hoping their mid-season draftees play in Franku and the other one's a name, Marcus Herbert. I think they've got good potential to score if they can get into the side, but we'll just have to see if they get in. Not much on the injury front there. Jimby had his quad explode. Apparently, it's not too bad though. All of a sudden, at one stage he was out for the whole year, and then I think I've seen somewhere along the lines that he's not out for the whole year now. I'm not sure, but see how that progresses. And then the Bulldogs, not much going on apart from the fact that they're going to debut Luke Kennedy. I'm sure no one has Lockie McNeil, who's out with concussion, but Luke Kennedy is a tackling machine. So if you can sort of maintain that in the AFL, it sort of raises the floor for a rookie. So it probably isn't the worst option, but he is obviously a little bit more expensive than your 99K sort of bargain basement. I reckon this is unreal. Gather round. I'm definitely going to go to gather round next year. That looks unreal. I haven't been before, so I was actually already looking at accommodation, but I don't know what weekend it's on. But definitely looking to organise something and get down to gather around. So we'll look at the team whispers that are sort of dished out a little bit. This first one's about Zach Merritt playing off halfback. To be honest, I don't really care that much. It affects Archie Roberts a little bit, but I don't have Zach Merritt. But for you guys that do, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. To be honest, I think he'll probably score pretty similar regardless. He's going to find the pill. You know, he butchered it last week, and that's the only reason he didn't score well. Found enough of it. So I think that's positive signs. Like if you butcher it, score 91 or whatever he scored, 90s, it's not too bad. I think he'll be fine, to be honest. I think he's still a good pick. Melbourne, this is the news about them debuting Lucas Cook and Joel Fitzgerald. Um, Dyson Sharp possibly in the side. This is a rough one. Tom McCarthy out for those that were sort of bringing in a bargain defender. But you know what it does if he's injured this week? They have the bye next week. I'm pretty sure. I think they have the bye next week, West Coast, and then he's obviously just gonna sit at his price around 450, 440. All of a sudden becomes a decent sort of like last option if you're looking for a defender for that last round. So I don't mind that. I don't mind that. Probably looks like Lindsay will come back in, right? Sort of a swap like for like. Um, so for you guys that have held Lindsay, possibly could have him back in the side this week. Xavier Bammett, who's going to be debuting. Alrighty, that'll probably do for that. Let's have a look at the bubble boys. So below Harvey Harrison and Harry Kyle, I'm not going to lie, they're basically the only two that are on the bubble worth talking about, but I don't know much about either of them. What I do know is that I probably wouldn't go either of them unless you're sort of really looking, unless you're really desperate. I like Harvey Harrison a little bit more because of his job security. Harry Kyle has the DPP, but the issue with Harry Kyle is that I just don't think he's going to stay in the side that long with all Sydney's injuries and players coming back. So it is nice to have him and Hugo Hawker-Hahn though, because they can sort of, if you've got one of them, if you've got both of them and one of them are missing, at least one can sort of act as a cover for two positions. So for that case, he is handy. I just don't think he'll keep his spot. And 145k, it's kind of 50k extra over a bargain basement. And then you got Harvey Harrison here, who isn't doing too bad, plays decent in the VFL. I think he's a sort of 45 to 50 average guy. I think Harry Kyle's probably pretty similar. So just be mindful. I don't think they're going to score that well, but I'd sort of be leaning towards a mid-season draftee at 99k because I think the job security for Harry Kyle's poor. I think Harvey Harrison a little bit better maybe, but still risky to bring someone in on a buy. We don't know if he's selected to even play the third game. I don't know. The 99k rookies look good to me. That's where I'd be sort of steering you towards. So let's talk about those 99k rookies. You had Hugo Hawker-Hahn and Pajatski play on the weekend. Hugo Hawker-Hahn looks like a good player. He's selected tonight to play against the Dogs. He's mid defender DPP. He looks good. He looks good. I like him as a player. Let's bring him up. Had his nose smashed in, still scored like I think he scored 72. So probably could have got an 80, I suppose, if he spent that time on ground. Who knows? Um, but yeah, handy player. Pajatski, I think he has really good job security just through Collingwood's lack of forward. He kicked a nice goal. I know I seen people saying, "I like it," but he kicked a goal. It's like, well, he is a forward. Like that's how he's probably going to get his points through that way, right? Like you're probably expecting him to kick a goal a game. Um, and if he doesn't kick a goal, yeah, of course he's going to score less. But you know, it is part of the scoring in Supercoach, right? So I wouldn't be put off because if he didn't kick the goal, he wouldn't have scored many points. Yeah, I'm going to need him to kick goal to score points. But he's sort of just a buy cover at this stage. I think his job security is good. Just wait for him to get picked again next week. If you don't have him, you could even go early on him this week just for his job security reasons. I think I'd lean towards a Pajadzki over a Campbell Lake. I just think in a few weeks you're just going to regret having Campbell Lake there doing nothing, especially if you've already got Banfield. I think Pajadzki is a way better option, just to at least have a player that's playing. I know you probably don't think it's going to affect you at the moment, but it eventually probably will. I should probably have a look into Lucas Cook because he's a bargain basement as well. I didn't realise that. So he must be one of the mid-season recruits as well. All right. So we'll look into that. Joel Fitzgerald, I know, has been tearing it up and has been a really sort of popular downgrade option. Um, I'll probably look into it a little bit more, but I will most likely bring him in. The only thing that puts me off is that he does have the last buy as well, so he's not going to act as any cover for that. But um, and if I'm not going to use his cash gen, and I'm probably not going to use him to on-field score after that, basically, what am I bringing him in for? But maybe he just dominates at AFL level as well. Who knows? Who knows? Xavier Bammett playing this weekend, like I said. Um, I like his job security because Port Adelaide suck. I think bringing in players, rookies for clubs that are not doing so well, they have a little bit more benefit to play these kids rather than a Hawthorn or a Geelong or these teams that are up the top Frio. If the kids that come into this side, Sydney, they're going to be very, very unlikely to hold their spot as the finals go in. They want their senior bodies playing. So just keep that in mind as well when you're selecting some players like Franku, Herbert. These guys are probably going to play Kai Nand if he gets a run. These guys are likely to hold their spot or more likely to hold their spot. Um, all in all, the bubble boys I don't like so much. I've been leaning towards some of these rookies. Do your research on what you think. If I was going to pick a midfielder, I think Joel Fitzgerald has the highest scoring capability. I think Xavier Bammett out of the midfielders probably has the best um, job security. And then Hugo Hawker and Mitch Pahadsky, I think, are both really good options. I don't know about Hawker job security so much, just with all those guys to come back who are quality players. And some of them play a very similar role to Hawker. Pahajki, I think, is just going to hold his spot. I just don't think he's that great of a scorer, but as some cover, not too bad. So that's my opinion on your 99K guys. Let's talk about the trade targets. The most popular trade targets, and this is where we're going to touch on the forward line, F5, F6. I see people are sort of, over the last few weeks, we've lost Flanders, what I said was kind of like a crossroads sort of trade, and then a lot of people have lost McInerney. So you might be making two trades in your forward line, one trade in your forward line. Let's have a look. So I wanted to bring this up because I don't know. I wouldn't say I have a strong opinion. My opinion's not that strong, but um, this is the one that makes me nervous for a lot of people. So I see a lot of people going Sam Durham, and honestly, I'm not going to lie, I love it for me. I love that people are going that because there's no way in hell I'd be going to Sam Durham. Um, I can see, and look, this could come back and bite me. And you know what? If it does, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Like he probably, if he comes back and does really well and like exceeds expectation, he averages 100 probably. Right, that's probably the worst that he's going to damage me. And yeah, I miss out on a sort of keeper at 365k. I'd like to see him go around again against Melbourne. His average is only 78. I mean, his break even's only 78. So this this to me screams trap, big trap. Um, Mind you, it can't go that bad. He's already cheap. It's just the trades. Like, I don't know how many trades you guys have got left. I suppose that could be a reason to go him as well. You don't have enough to go to a premium from him. My preference is, if you're thinking about going from a Jagger and a Murdoch to Durham, I think the trade's more valuable than the points. So I have Murdoch. I'm going to hold Murdoch over going Durham, because I'm going to fill the other spots first and just have my F6 as sort of like a floater for a little bit until I can generate a little bit more cash, and then go Murdoch to like a Shea Bolton or someone that I know can pump out those massive ceiling scores, Zach Bailey or Jason Horn Francis or someone like that. So that's what I'd be steering away from Sam Durham. That's my advice. Honestly, I'm happy there's just so many people in the top 1% who are sort of my rivals at the moment. There's 5.4% that are jumping on Sam Durham. I think that's people getting desperate. I like that for my side to be able to progress. If you're one of those guys, I'm sorry. Um, but I'd be steering away from Sam Durham. That's my 2 cents. The other options here that I'll talk about is Lockie Ash. I like this trade. I've liked this trade for ages. I think he's going to be a really good option. As the week's going on, I'm starting to talk myself out of it, just because there's so many people in the top 1% going him, and they are kind of my rivals. So kind of trying to find a sort of way to navigate around that, to get a little bit of an advantage. I did that with Rao. There were so many people jumping into Rao and LDU that I thought, you know what, I'm not going to go those guys. Just because I don't want to have the same team. If I have the same team as these guys, I'm not going to be able to make up points. But also, I don't want to miss out on like a sort of must-have player either. So it's a tricky balance. Um, I like Ash though. I think not that I need to have him, but I want to have him. And if others are going with Sam Durham, I think I'll let them make the mistake there and take Ash. Um, so at this stage, he's in my trade plans. Callahan, I can see the attraction. He's coming off his buy. Sam Durham also has a buy next week. Um, I think this is crazy, to be honest. I just I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know what we're trying to see. Like, it's not as if his CBAs have been. He's getting CBAs this year anyway, and hasn't scored. Like, this just reeks of like Colby McKercher stuff, and going on Hugh McCluggage when he's averaging 70. Like, let's just read out some of these scores. So I'll get rid of this 101 from Hawthorn. So since then, he's gone 75, 60, 57, 78, 73, 51, 102, 106, 60. Then fair enough, he got knocked out 16, and then 127. That's horrendous. Like, like that's so bad. CBL. Let's have a look at the different. Like, if there is a correlation sort of between his CBAs. I was having a look at this anyway, so I already know there's not. But let's have a so from rounds 7 to round 10, he was getting CBAs over pretty much over 60% CBAs. So round 7 to 10. Um, so round 7 he scored 51. Round 8 he scored 102. Round 9 he scored 106. Round 10 he scored 60. So I think that's an average of about 80, not even. And then he also had these centre bounces round 1, 2, and 3, and he scored 101, 75, and 60. So, like, what are we doing? Like, I just don't. Yeah, I get it. He dominated on the weekend against Carlton, who, basically he shot out the gate and then just completely regressed and basically didn't score much in the second half. But, you know, and the other thing is, you got Parrish to come back, you got Sharp to come back, and you have Caldwell to come back, and you're planning to hold this guy. He's got a bye next week. Anyway, if you wanna go him, you go him. I just don't think he's a good option. Take the risk somewhere else. Take the risk somewhere else. Um, let's move on from Sam Durham before I'm ragging on too much. Tuke Miller, I like this pick. This is the guy that I would be picking this week if it wasn't for money. And instead, I'm going Jason Horn Francis. And I know you're thinking 9K, but there's a trade that I need to make next week, and it is going to come down to slimmest of margins, and it would really piss me off if 9K was the difference. And it's the difference between me keeping a trade and burning a trade to get a player in that I want. And trades are going to be so valuable. I'm planning on having sort of 6 trades to have. I'm counting my team complete next week, with Murdoch as one of those players with 6 trades to go for the rest of the season. So I'm really valuing those trades. It's 10 rounds with 6 trades, basically. So um, I'm going to be holding on to those trades as much as I can, and then maybe as the weeks go on, as 3 weeks pass or 4 weeks pass, I'll go, all right, I can make another 2 trades as luxury trades. But for now, I'm going to be holding them and hoping that, obviously I don't want to have injuries, but if there is, at least hoping that I have trades, more trades, and sort of people around me to keep my team sort of secure. I like Tuke Miller though. I think he's already averaging what Jason Horne-Francis is without the role. If a role change happens, it's only going to benefit Tuke Miller. He's not getting CBAs at the moment. If he gets CBAs, he's going to be back to that 105. I feel like his potential is more. Jason Horne-Francis obviously can have those ceiling scores, but he has the low scores as well. You just got to ride that out. I'm going to go with Horne-Francis literally just because of the price, but I think Tuke Miller is the better option. So if I had the cash, I'd be going Tuke Miller. And that's the other thing as well. Like you're probably in a similar position to me, or you're stressing, or you're thinking like, oh, I don't have enough money. I'm running out of trades. Don't stress. Like everyone else is in the same position. Believe me, they might be saying, I'm ranked 542, and I'm thinking I'm running out of trades. I'm running out of money. I'm running out of. I want this player. I want that player. Everyone's like that. You just got to do the best you can. So don't be stressing too much about that. I love this Jordan Dawson pick. Like I don't have nowhere near enough cash to get him in, but I think he's a good pick. That has a really nice run home as well. Like this end of the season period as well. Carlton, Brisbane, Richmond, North, Bulldogs, Collingwood, Freo at Adelaide Oval, Geelong at Adelaide Oval I like as well. Um, the Hawks at Utah's, but you know what? I don't like it's Jordan Dawson, bro. Like he's gonna dominate no matter where it is. I think he's a gun. So basically, they're the upgrade options that I wanted to talk about anyway. I've already sort of spoken about these rookies, so Hawker Hahn, Campbell Lake, Pahajski, and Fitzgerald. Now, under the radar. So this is where I give you the gems, the absolute gems. And I've given you Max Hall, who's gone back to back tons since I gave it to you. I gave you George Hewitt, who I think's gone back to back tons, or maybe a 90 and a ton. Then we gave Tom McCarthy, who went hundreds, 130, I think he went. And I gave his one more as well, Luke Parker, who turned up on the weekend as well, who was going under the radar. The reason why I gave you all those good ones is because I'm just about to give you 2 real shit ones. I've been looking, trying to get guys that are going under the radar that you could trade in that are good value. I really struggled to find one. But amidst this forward drama, I found 2. I feel like you're just gonna have to like really squint though, like to see these guys as value. I'm not advocating for these 2 either, by the way, but maybe as like speculative picks. By the way, this is not one of them, but if you're going towards Colby McKercher, please don't. Like, just don't do it to yourself. Just don't do it. This is if you got Durham and Colby McKercher, damn man. Like, what are we thinking Colby McKercher is going to do? And I understand, like, I've seen people saying, like, he had a role change in the weekend, played midfield. He did it because Finn O'Sullivan's out with concussion. So he's going to be back in a week, right? So he could lose that role straight away. And I don't know if Clarko's kicking back going, you know what? Chuck and Colby McKercher in midfield on the weekend did well for us. We only lost by 130 points. I don't know if they're gonna like. It's obviously not that linear, but I doubt that. Clarko is looking at the game going, we should do that again. So, and even if he does, like his best average is 89. Like, I just don't get it. I don't know what we've seen. Like, I don't. I could be missing something here, but like, what is the attraction? What is this thing with Colby Mc? I don't even understand starting him at the year. I don't get it. I just don't understand this pick ever. Anyway, if he comes back and dominates, then yeah, fair enough. Just I just don't see it. Um, Durham, I don't love. All right, here's my first one. And remember, I'm not advocating for this. Don't hold these two. My other four, 100%. I loved those four. But these two, I'm really, really stretching. I just couldn't find anyone else. First one is Joe Richards. And I know you're thinking, what the? Okay, hear me out, hear me out. The reason I like him is because he's got 48 and a 34 in there. Um, the reason I like him is because I think his role is going to change. It changed a lot on the weekend, and I think it's going to continue because of Port's situation. So they're playing around with their midfield mix. It's not working. Um, Zach Butters is on the out and probably going to leave Port Adelaide. I think they're going to look to rotate a few more guys through there. And we saw on the weekend, if you want to have a look, that Joe Richards was the first person to go through there all of a sudden. So basically, no CBAs for the whole year. 24 2 weeks ago, and then last round, nearly 50% CBAs, and they were taking them off Ollie Wines and Willem Drew. I really like this. Joe Richards is sort of like an offensively minded midfielder. He scored 99, so basically turned up in his first game getting midfield minutes. This is a watch this space for me. This is a watch this space. If he has another good score, if we watch this week and he plays against Sydney and gets midfield minutes and scores near a ton, they have a nice little run to the end of the season. I think Joe Richards could be an option. Mind you, I think this is about as good as Sam Durham. So I don't love it that much. And the other one, oh God, I don't know why I do this to you guys, but I have to give his one. I have to give his two. Like it's just part of it's part of the episodes, right? Um, where is this guy? Just give me a moment to find him. He's probably that low. And the next one is Himia Riley Philthorpe. Okay. Had a bad season so far, but started okay. 85, 81, 71, 104, 81. Gone really downhill since then and looked like he's been carrying an injury. So it looked like he's carrying some type of back injury or something was going on since he's had a week off. I think he had the bye and then got suspended. So he's had some time off. Um, he's back this week. I think this is a guy that averaged, I believe, 94 last year. How do we look at that? So he averaged in the 90s last year. 97 he averaged last year. So he can do it, and he's only 339k. And when I mean he's averaged 97, that's more than Durham's ever averaged, right? So like he's proven he is a proven scorer. You look at some of these scores from last year. He had one said how many scores over 90? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 scores over 90, including a few over 140. See, it's a really crazy risky pick. I'm not advocating it, but as a watch this space as a bloke going under the radar, I'm going to chuck in Riley Philthorpe. He's had a little bit of a rest. Maybe his body's come good. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that at all, but possibly Riley Philthorpe. He's gone down 186k, what means he can be worth that sort of upper price player. So there you go, Joe Richards, Riley Philthorpe as the under the radar picks. I hate myself for giving you guys those picks. So just judge me off the first four that I gave you, because the other ones, yeah, not so good, not so good. All right, let's have a look at the skippers for the week. This one is a tricky one. I think the vice captain's really good. I think you can go Thursday and Friday night. You can go Bailey Smith, Marcus Bontempelli, Jordan Dawson, Max Holmes. I think your vice captain comes from those four, right? I think Ed Richards is a little bit of a smoky, but for me, the best one is Bailey Smith against Gold Coast, who don't put attention into midfielders in Geelong. I think that's where I want to go. The only problem is I'm worried about going Bonty and then him scoring 130 and then leaving me in a really sort of weird situation. I think Bailey Smith's going to go massive. So I'm thinking 150 for Baz. So I don't want to miss out on that. So I've got a decision whether or not I'm going to go Baz VC or Bonte VC or possibly Ed Richards. Um, the other thing is that you got Heaney, who can go huge. You also got Gorn, who could go well against Essendon. I don't love that though with the injury, and Essendon seem to be quite nullifying to Ruckman. The other one is, let me have a look at it's Lockie Neal. So Lockie Neal, a lot of people sort of jumping on that against Richmond. I don't love that so much. I don't know if he's going to really rock up for a matchup like that at his age. I think he's sort of just going to try to coast through. But he traditionally has scored huge against Richmond. So, and I'm a Lockie Neal owner, and of course I would love that, but I don't think I want to rest on Lockie Neal as my skipper. So I'm going to go, I think I'm going to go Baz, VC. Mate, no, I'll go Bont, VC into Baz, I think. I think that's just what I'm going to do. But these, I've named them in this order: Baz, Bont, Dawson, Holmes, Heaney. I think Heaney's probably an A as well, to be honest. But I'm not changing the graphic this late. So that's what I'm looking at going. I'm looking at Baz, Bont, Dawson, Holmes, Heaney. Somewhere from that lot is where I'd be looking if you got those players. Let's have a look at my round preview. So what I'm doing this week, as you can see down below, I'll show you my trades. So looking at getting rid of Josh Dacos, Anderson, and Will Lewis. Lewis has done really, really well for us. So if we have a look at Will Lewis, got him as a 99k rookie. He's made 167k for us. So unreal as like a pod rookie, and he's the reason why we're getting up to an upgrade. Anderson, who just basically killed his cash gen, and is also on the buy, so we can cash him and get a player that's going to play. And Josh Dacos did really well. A good parting gift for me was his 111. His break even 74 though, and I don't think he'll hit that because he's just been so inconsistent. And I think the amount of points that I'll gain going Ash instead of having Dacos is worth the trade. Josh Dacos is a quality player though and could average 100 from here on out, but I just feel a little bit safer with Ash. I feel like that's where I'm going to get some improvement from my team. Also, he's on the buy, and I was sort of planning on flipping him on my buy this whole time anyway. So that's the trade that I'm looking to get out of the side. Bringing in is Ash, Joel Fitzgerald, and Jason Horn Francis. Let's talk about those forwards again. And the reason I'm going Jason Horn Francis is because of my future trades. So next week next week is when I'm taking the risk for my side. If we have a look at my side when it's fully, like everybody's in and there's no buy, this is what my team looks like. So Sinclair, Holmes, Whitfield, Roberts, Ash, Worrell. My defense is basically done. Worrell is going up in price. If he gets really close to Nas, eventually I'll make that swap. But he's just going to have to maintain that sort of range, and it'll be a luxury trade if I've got trades down the long run. Then we got Baz, Butters, Bont, Ed Richards, Clayton Oliver, Nick Dacos, Lockie Neal, and Elijah Sardis. So one spot there. We got the big three rucks, so we got Grundy, Gorn, Jackson. We're just holding with all the drama that's going on. Also, I've seen talk about people like trading Gorn or like thinking about, this is the last season that we get Gorn and stuff like that. If you guys aren't going to get Gorn next year, I'm so happy. Like we realize he hasn't dropped below a ton yet. I don't see what people are stressing about with Gorn. Like I understand he's got a niggle. This is a bloke coming off 134, 118, 114, 118, and 109. Man, I don't know. I'm speechless. Anyway, yep. If you want to get rid of Gorn, get rid of Gorn. Up to you. But I'll be having him, and I'll probably be in my side next year too. This guy is Supercoach royalty, man. Don't be getting rid of Gorn. And I've got Jackson. And then my forward line is Sheasel, Petrarca, Horn Francis, Reed, Pickett, and Murdoch. Okay, so the reason why I'm getting Horn Francis is because the player that I want is a midfielder here, and I have 93k left in the bank. Elijah Sardis is meant to go up to about 360. With the 90 on top, that leaves me 450. And then Burton, I can cash in for a 99k rookie, use his 50k, gets me to around 500. The player that I want to bring in next week is, and I do have a backup option, And luckily, all these players are on their buy, so none of them are going to go up in price. Call me crazy. It's George Hewitt for 495k. And I brought him up as one of my under the radars the other week. I'm high on George Hewitt, really high. 3 round average of 109. This is a bloke that averaged, what did he average last year? 112 last year with so many tons. We've already brought this up. Look how many. He had one, two, three, four, five scores under 100, and three of them were over 80. This is my guy. This is my guy. I'm going to back George Hewitt in. People say he doesn't have a high ceiling. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 scores over 120 with a 119 as well. He's, I like this pick, man. I like it. Not many people are going to go there. They got a good run. Carlton coming home. I like it. But he's 495k. And I'm probably sitting at about 500. And Burton is the one I definitely want to get rid of. I would really like to keep Banfield just because of his DPP. Get George Hewitt, and that frees up the cash. And the thing is, because if I can do that in one trade or two trades, sorry, that'll leave me 6 trades with a completed team. The issue that I have is that if I can't get him, and I think if I can't get him, the other two players that I can think about, I'll basically just go down the tier. I can go Will Day at 482, who I should be able to reach, who's a bit risky because of the body and obviously game time, and I think they'll rest him as well leading up into the finals just to not to overdo him. So I think there's that to keep in mind as well. The other one's John Newcomb at 189. So they're all sort of in the same kind of range, but it's literally going to be a couple of K between whether or not I can afford them or not, right? I think John Newcomb scores more with Day in the side as well. Day takes a lot of that attention, and John Newcomb can now really start to become sort of the second guy, but get more points. And he was already averaging 102. So I'm probably going to go one of those three guys. I like George Hewitt the most, but he is the most expensive. So that's my thoughts, and the reason why I'm going Horn Francis instead of um, Tuke Miller, and it's literally just because of that 9k, because um, that 9k could be the difference between me getting George Hewitt and not. So a lot of it depends on Elijah Sardis's performance this weekend as well. So Sardis, let's ton up, son. Just give me one more game out here, and get me George Hewitt, please. And then George Hewitt doesn't have a buy as well, either with these boys, in the Hawks boys. So that's how I'm sort of looking at completing my team. The reason why I'm doing that is as well is because it'll leave me with 6 trades, and even if it is a fail, I can just do an upgrade and get a Heaney or someone like that once a guy makes a little bit more cash. But at this stage, I want to take the risk to progress my team and complete my team with more trades. So that's what I'm thinking there. Forwards wise, I think if you can afford any of the upper guys, I'll be waiting. If you can upgrade somewhere else, I really like Shea Bolton. The ones that I think are risky are Chad Warner. So Chad Warner, yes, he's probably going to get more midfield minutes for like 1 or 2 weeks. He's got 1 week the bye, and then Errol Goulden comes back. Errol Goulden's going to take those midfield minutes straight off him again. So I don't think there's going to be a real change in role. So I expect his average to stay pretty similar. Zach Bailey, kind of the same. McCluggage is going to come back, right? He's going to come back. He's got a bye as well. So you're probably going to get 3-4 more weeks maximum out of Zach Bailey getting those increased midfield minutes. And then, he's back. McCluggage is back. These are guys that you got to plan on maintaining the role and their scoring for the rest of the season, because you're probably not going to have trades to get rid of them. Horn Francis, I think, is the one that has the best chance to maintain the role for the longest. So that's the reason why I'm going Horn Francis. Mind you, he does have the ability to just dish out stinkers. And like when I seen people trading him, I was stoked because I was like, I'm not jumping on that roller coaster. But now I kind of have to, with Flanders and stuff going down. So I've decided to go Horn Francis. Let's see how we go. I don't love my forward line, to be honest, but I don't think anyone does. But that's my thinking, and the reason why I'm going Horn Francis is because of that next trade that's happening. And that'll basically be my trades. Next week, my team will be complete, and I'll just ride it out for injuries and then luxury trades after that. The other forwards I like, I'm not going to talk about these top guys. I think they're good options. I think Tracy's a good option, but on the buy, Sanders has a horrible buy itself, but I think he's a really good option. I'll just be mindful about Libba coming back. I think it will definitely affect his role because where else are they going to play Libba? I've already spoken about Max Hall, who I think is a good option. I'm not going to get any of these guys. Tim Kelly, no, no, don't go there. um, too many things wrong with Kelly. It can be injuries or even just scoring. Like, don't go there. Who else are we thinking? Look, I don't really like anyone else, to be honest. Rochelle, no. McKercher, no. Elliot, yo, no. Yeah, I don't love any of these other options, to be honest. Joe Richards? I don't think so, to be honest. No Joe Richards, no Sam Durham. Sam Durham, I can see being the speculative go. Like, it's a real shot in the dark, but I just wouldn't bank on it. Yeah, it's a risk. If you can take the risk somewhere else, take the risk somewhere else. I think Rankin in a few weeks when he drops in price would be handy, but obviously injury issues is. I think he's already gone down twice this year, hasn't he? So yeah, be mindful of a Isaac Rankin, but I think scoring wise, he's the best option. Especially if he gets that midfield role back again, but could get injured. I'd rather you go with Bailey Smith. Probably too late. I mean, Bailey Williams too late now, 481, but at least he gives you something. Like, I'd rather go there than, but he's obviously really expensive. Um, yeah, I think that's about all the forwards that we can should talk about. Anyway, that's my round preview. We're looking at bringing in um, Lockie Ash, Joel Fitzgerald, Jason Horn-Francis to have my team one trade off being completed, and that'll next week most likely be Sardis to Hewitt, hopefully, providing that Sardis can score well enough to get to about 360k this week. What means he needs to score around 80. And that'll see us have enough cash to get Hewitt. If not, it'll be Newcombe all day. And then I think I'll leave you guys there. So thanks for joining along. This is a bit of a longer video. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you guys are doing with your team. Let me know what you think. Haze me if you're thinking that Sammy Durham's going to absolutely dominate. Let me have it. If he does really well, let me have it. Just jump in the comments and just call me a dickhead or something. But um, you know, I told you so. When it doesn't work with him and McKercher, when it doesn't work, I told you, don't go there. What else have I got for you? I think that's it. All right, take it easy. Enjoy the footy tonight. Hopefully the Dogs can get up over Adelaide. That would be great. And yeah, peace out. Take it easy.